Was a real pleasure catching up with Zach and Raven from Metal Devastation PR and Metal Devastation Radio. Those two have set something up incredible in West Tennessee, October the 8th, the Tennessee Metal Devastation Festival. Shout out to those two guys for putting this on in West Tennessee, where this stuff just does not ever happen. I'll add a link for tickets and more info on the fest and a list of bands that are playing. If you're anywhere near Lexington, Tennessee on October 8th, go support this festival, and I hope to see you there.
I'm Zach Moonshine.
And I'm Raven Moonla, and we own Metal Devastation Radio and Metal Devastation PR. Well, my husband started in internet radio back, around 2007 or 8?
Yeah.
And then we branched out and started our own radio station, Metal Devastation Radio, in 2013. And then over the last couple of years, I guess since 2020, we started our own heavy metal PR company, Metal Devastation PR. And that sort of blossomed into wanting to do a festival. But we hadn't actually planned on doing it this soon. We had a friend out of Kentucky who wanted us to help him book a show, which we did. And then he ended up backing out and it sort of fell into our lap. So we just said, we're already doing this thing. Let's grow it and bring a bunch of bands that we do PR for and friends. And let's just see what happens. And so far it's been, other than the backlash, the response has been like really positive.
Well, somebody sent me a link on Facebook about some of the comments that were coming in. When did that start? First of all, how unexpected was that? And when did the comments start coming in?
Not unexpected. We announced that we were doing this back in late April. We honestly thought people would get mad about it a lot quicker. But some pastor there at Second Baptist Church there in Lexington made a post about it, about how it was the lyrics to a casket robbery song, which is about a little girl that's trapped inside of a nightmare. And of course, talks about her, some kind of demonic possession and killing her parents. And this pastor made this big deal. And then it just blew up from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a feeling that some people were going to turn their noses up to it, but I didn't think that it was going to be like to this level. For a long time, I've always wondered why so many of my favorite bands don't tour. They never come to Tennessee. It's always in Atlanta or somewhere else. And it's like, we don't want to drive, not everybody's able to drive that far every time. And I've always wondered why that is, what's the deal with that? And I'm starting to think that maybe this is the reason, maybe a lot of venues just don't want to deal with this kind of backlash that they might get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's what it's looking like.
What's the funniest thing you've seen? Because to me, I'm like you guys, I listen to this stuff day in, day out, every genre, subgenre, whatever. And it's funny because everybody I've met in the scene, like you said, Raven, on one interview I saw, nicest people on the planet for the most part. So what's the funniest comment you've seen, and funniest, I guess, accusation? I saw something like a portal to hell and that kind of stuff. What's the kind of wildest, funniest thing you've seen?
Well, I did see on one of the threads where a woman had posted inside like a ministry group. They were sharing links on there to some conspiracy theorists having to do with CERN and opening portals. And they were talking about us when they were like, have you watched this channel? This is what's going on. And I'm like, oh my God, really? We're on the level with CERN now. Like, we're going to make QAnon. We're going to get on all of the cool websites where all the people are that discuss those sorts of things. So that one was funny. And then the one that talked about our name. Why do they call it Devastation? Yeah. What are they planning to do? Well, that's literally our business name.
Yeah. Is that because I'm probably, like I said, I'm maybe 90 miles, I guess, southwest of you guys. It's really like that here. Now, we haven't put on a festival like that in a few years, but I don't get the sense that it's that crazy here. So, and you said you did kind of thought it would be like that there. Why is that? I think it's wrong to say it's all Christians, obviously. I think it's that very far left side. Is that a right side? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Lexington is a really small town.
About 7,000 people.
Okay.
We were posting stuff in some of the local groups, on Facebook and stuff that are for the local people there in that community to let them know about it, and I think that's probably where some of those people picked it up from, that started getting crazy.
Well, we also grew up, he's not from Lexington and I'm not either, but his grandparents lived there and my father lived there. And we actually met as teenagers in Lexington, but we were metalheads back then, alternative, he was more of a metalhead. I was more like, Nine Inch Nails and Tori Amos back in the 90s. But any kind of alternative anything has always been shunned. And I remember when I got a Ouija board when I was in 7th grade, just to, mess around with it and play. Rumors got around that town that I was worshiping the devil. Like my family members took my board outside and buried it in the dirt. I'm talking like, this is some pretty crazy Bible Belt stuff, whether it's all Christians that feel that way or just, but I expected it, I guess. It took longer for the backlash to happen than I actually thought it would.
Yeah. Ironically, what were your thoughts on the fact that the negative comments, it put you guys on a whole new level? I mean, you see the Pit picked it up, and I think Loudwire picked it up, and that's how I saw it. Ironically, do you see that as kind of helpful in the long run?
Oh, yeah.
The minute that this all happened, I smiled. Like everybody, we've been getting a lot of messages of people apologizing to us for all of that. And we're like, don't apologize. We are not mad about this. The minute that it's like with Chipper Gore back in the day, like there is no such thing as bad publicity. And they definitely got us in front of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How weird is it that there are people actually planning, that I've read, prayer vigils outside the event? Is this still a little bit, is that a little bit strange to add to this? Because obviously you brought the bands in, you brought the vendors in. Are you welcoming things like that to come in?
Well, yes and no. Now the venue, they're making us hire a lot of security. They're a little bit concerned about, what could happen. Now we're not going to allow protesting inside like the boundary, but if they want to be on the sidewalk outside or across the street, hey, the way I see it is people want to come see that kind of thing. It's just another, I hate to say that, but it's another form of entertainment.
Sure. Now, what kind of genre are you guys into? What are you the biggest fan of? I know I saw an interview, you said that more extreme stuff, Black and Death, maybe After Dark, but what do you guys, if you're turning on your Spotify right now, what's on there? What are you listening to?
I like black metal the most. I would say he mostly listens to Death, but we're very eclectic and we love it all.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, man. I mean, I listen to everything from Def Leppard to King Diamond to, it don't matter.
Yeah.
It's whatever I'm in the mood for at the time.
We hope to make this an annual event, and because of the nature of our PR business, we focus more on underground bands. Mm-hmm. And so we hope that that's what this is going to be, an underground metal festival, where these amazing bands that maybe don't have the publicity yet can get out there and get heard. So
that was my next question. Do you plan on bringing more major label stuff in, or is that the whole plan to have these underground guys in? Because you really want to bring attention, because that's what your station does. I think you bring attention to bands that need a little push.
Correct. And that's what we do with PR. We have really affordable PR packages for bands that don't have a whole lot of capital but to put towards that. And I'm not saying that in the future that we wouldn't have an anchor band, like something that's got more name recognition to bring people in to see all the underground. But we chose Summoner Circle this year for our headlining act. We've been big fans for a long time. And even though they're not mainstream, they have a really nice following. And I think we're going to see really big things from them coming up. So
I was not familiar with them, but after seeing your stuff, I looked them up, and I'm looking really forward to seeing them because their imagery is incredible. Their sound's incredible. So have you seen them in person?
We have not. And we've been friends with them for years, and we have wanted to. We've just never made it to East Tennessee for that.
So how much watching the festival are you going to get to do? You're going to be running around and seeing them.
We have no idea. I know that by the time Summoner Circle takes the stage, that'll be the last band. That'll probably be the time when we get to sit down and be like, exhale and enjoy it, because we've reached,
Hopefully we have enough help there that we can enjoy some of the bands, and be able to be part of the crowd. But I imagine it's going to be pretty busy. It's going to be pretty heavy.
What's been the biggest learning experience from getting it set up? Because I don't think people understand this is a task you've taken on. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. A lot will happen there, probably some unexpected. What's been the biggest surprise as far as what was difficult to do?
Every bit of it. From the very beginning, finding a venue that would take us on, dealing with the backlash, finding insurance. A lot of insurance companies will turn you away the minute they know that you're heavy metal.
Wow.
They say it's an uninsurable risk. Contracts, negotiating that with the bands, making sure that vendors have their own insurance, because event insurance doesn't cover if a food vendor, food poisoning or something. It has been an extremely huge learning curve, but we have learned so much. And so the next one, we ought to be.
It should be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Now, I ask everyone I interview, I ask this question because I'm always entertained by it. You said you're both metalheads, obviously.
Uh-huh.
When did that start? Because it's me, I grew up in just outside Tupelo. So I grew up on country music. That's all I was given as a child. That's all I knew. I think when I was probably, 14, 15, I started finding stuff like Beck and Cypress Hill. Then I found a Metallica single at Walmart, which was, I think, Memory Remains. That's kind of how my door opened, and there was a different world outside country. What was the first thing you found, and did you find it on your own, or did you have a parent who kind of pushed you into that heavier realm?
I was drawn to it from a very young age. I think it was like 6 or 8 years old, and watching MTV and stuff like that. I had a cousin that had Iron Maiden Number of the Beast record. He brought that over, and that was all it took right there. I mean, from there, Metallica and Slayer and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm in my 40s, so back in the early 80s, man, that's.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of the same. I was a little girl watching MTV, and I first fell in love with Motley Crue and Skid Row. Like, I remember being in 6th grade and begging my mom to let me bleach my hair blonde so I could be a Motley Crue groupie, and I had no idea what that meant. But it started there for me. And then, of course, in the 90s, I was sort of more into like grunge, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. And then I kind of went through my Marilyn Manson phase. So, from there, and then whenever we got together, I got really into Danzig, and I'm a huge Behemoth fan, and Rotting Christ and all that. I'm a black metal lover. I love the vibe. But yeah, Motley Crue is where it started for me.
Hey, thank y'all so much for the time.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.